This week I tried a new style of hat, the peaked cap. The peaked cap is a service hat for many nations around the world. Originating in the early 1800s, the peaked cap was usually made by sewing multiple pieces of different fabrics together. I decided to go a different way with my peaked cap, and instead blocked it in one large piece of felt. For blocking hats with a flat top, you need a lot of water and steam. Due to the wide top of this hat, I spent around 15 minutes just trying to form the felt over the edge. Eventually I learned that you have to go all the way around the hat, pulling equally on both sides while changing your rotation a small amount each time. Doing that will hook the felt around the edge and keep it in place for blocking further. Extra water can help the fibers of the felt move easier. Here you can see me form the unstretched felt on top into a ring. This shape will stretch over the edges easier. After pulling on the felt a while, I use a fulling block to get rid of any excess wrinkles. Next, I use a hatter's knot to conform the felt tightly to the block and give it that peaked cap shape. Here, I get the felt closer to the brim break by pulling it downwards to get rid of wrinkles in the brim. Once the first hatter's knot is seated on the brim break, I add a second hatter's knot to conform to the hard crease in the center. To finish blocking, I flatten out the brim by pulling out wrinkles and ironing. When I use wool felt, the wool felt is usually stiffened beforehand, but the process of blocking breaks up this shellac. Isopropyl alcohol melts the shellac back together. After spraying, I use a scrap piece of leather to push the isopropyl alcohol deeper into the felt. Next, I cut the brim to about 6.5 centimeters all the way around. Next, I hop into an early stage of distression. Usually, felt hats are pounced in order to keep the finish smooth. But with distressed hats like this, you use a lower grit of sandpaper in order to get lighter spots in black felt. These lighter spots will be shinier when oiling. Next, I use a straight edge to mark and cut the rest of the brim except for the front. I smooth off the edge of the brim and round out the corners before firing. Burning the hat gets rid of any fuzzy fibers on the outside. I brush off the burnt fibers and start removing the block. Next, I prepare the sweatband by sizing and cutting it. Then, I punch the holes for the next step, hand stitching. With the sweatband stitched, I pin it in place for sewing. For sewing, I use a simple straight stitch all the way around the hat. I set out to make a traditional peaked cap brim, but it ended up looking more like a baseball cap brim, which honestly turned out better than I expected. To start the process of binding the brim, I pin and iron a satin bias tape in place. Then I use a cobbler sewing machine to slowly and carefully stitch the binding on. Now for the band. I wanted a double layer belt type band like this, so I cut 2 strips of leather. Next I install the buckle. It's a little hard to explain what's going on here, so I'll just show you. After the fitting buckle hole is measured and punched, I punch 3 other holes to decorate. For more decoration, I add 3 diamond-shaped spikes on the band. The holes for these were centered while the band was on the hat. I wanted to add a feather, so I put in place 2 rapid rivets with a strip of leather in between them. For the final stage of distressing, I oil the hat. Oiling the hat gives it a waterproof finish and a more distressed look. In the end, this is how the hat turned out. I themed it around heavy metal music and biker hats. Soon our website will be up and linked in our bio. There you could buy this hat or create your own custom hat like it. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please leave a like, and if you like our whole channel, please subscribe.